everyone, this is Ellie Mae with Swift Creek Customs, and I just thought that I would pop in real quick. This wasn't planned. I'm on the road. I'm not even in my location, and I'm using my webcam, which is terrible. So I will get off the feed here in just a second, but I wanted to show you a quick look and tour of the Leonardo Design Studio. Siser Juliet was released today, so this video is recorded on October 16th. It is available in the US and Canada at the Michaels stores. There's a link in the description below where you can get that. You can have it shipped directly to your house for free. I wanted to give you a quick look. Now, please understand that this is also, I am a beta tester, so I am giving you a glimpse at what my software looks like as a beta tester on October 16th. There really isn't much difference in this and the released version, but I wanted to state that up front. I also want to let you know that Leonardo Design Studio, when it's released today, is a basic cutting program. It is not designed to replace all of your other graphics programs. It is not going to compete with those as it is right now, and they're not trying to. It is a cutting program that is designed to talk to Siser Juliet cutting machine and to be able to cut your files. That is the basics of it, and that is what it does. It does work, it does function. Over the next several months, weeks, and through the next few years, Siser has plans to roll out many, many, many new features. I've had an inside look at the list, and they are very receptive to our feedback. So they have asked us questions, and we have given our feedback. So I just want to state that up front and give you a disclaimer. There are going to be changes, so if you're watching this months down the road or years down the road, there may be additional things added into the software. But as of right now, on October 16th, 2022, this is what the Siser program looks like. It's called Leonardo Design Studio. When you create an account with Siser, then you will have an option to download the software. You will then need to log in, and you have some options up here. You can see it. It tells you who I am. It tells me who I am. Some days I forget. So I'm going to close my little video program, and I'm going to show you a quick glimpse at this. So, like I said, it is a basic cutting program. So Siser has some features that are, it's a hybrid program. So some of your tabs on the left-hand side here are, oh, then it clicked on it. It's a hybrid. So these tabs over here are web-based. So if you do not have a connection to the internet, it just means you're not going to be able to see and click on these features here when you're in these tabs. So if I scroll down here, this is the home page, gives you some color swatches. This one should stay pretty much. But if you come over here to tutorials, it is a hybrid. It pulls the information from the website. These are all information tabs on the left-hand side that I'm showing you currently. And you can see here that you get some quick start guides, some cutter features. These videos will change. You also have this inspiration tab. So they have some different things that they're going to be changing out, and it's all pulled from the website and pulled into the software. So this is part of the hybrid program, part of the software. Now, you have a design library, and you have these designs in here, and we'll scroll down here, and you have different kinds of designs. These are free for you to use. So if I click on one of these, I actually cut this realistic skull, and it cut beautifully. I cut it out of heat transfer vinyl. I will put I don't have a finished project at the moment, but I'll throw that up on my Swift Creek Customs page and in the Creating with Juliet group. But you can see here, it gives me the option to open a design, which we'll do in a second. And it says this design is freely available for all license types. That means that you could use it for personal use, or you could use it for commercial use to create projects with that you could sell. So you have quite a bit of selection in here. And since some of it's seasonal, I'm sure it'll be changed out. It's a work in progress, but you do have a design library, and they do have some great features that are coming. Can't tell you what those are yet, but you also have a materials library in here, which is going to pull in your Siser products. And so they give you a little bit of a glimpse in there. Then you have a Siser cutter page. So you're going to be able to register your machine which I recommend, which I haven't done yet because I'm a beta tester. So the pages weren't set up for in our software yet. Then you have your page. I click in here, you can change your little avatar, which I haven't done since I started, and you have some different sections. Now here, those are all kind of on the hybrid part of it. You come down here to your design space, and this is your design board, your art board for Leonardo Design Studio. And we're going to go through a couple things here. The first thing I want to show you though is how you can bring in a file from your library. So in the design library, these are all just Siser files. There is no cloud option, so you're going to be in control of your files, which I really, really like. You create your files and then you save them to your hard drive or your external drive, however you save your files. You are in control of your files. So if I wanted to, let's just open this Create. If I click on it and then I choose Open Design, it's going to then take it to my artboard. So I have this design and I can move it around on my screen. Now, I also will put links up in the description below to my other Siser videos on the setup, because Siser Juliet is a different sort of machine. So if you're coming from a craft cutter machine, like a Silhouette, Cricut, or Brother Cut and Scan, it's going to take you time to learn. It's going to take you time to get used to how she works. This has been the biggest struggle for me. You need to test, play with it, test it. I still make mistakes. So the reason I say that is because when you're coming from a craft cutting machine, you are used to wherever you place this design on the screen, that is where it's going to cut. With Siser Juliet, that is not how it works. Wherever this design is placed on the screen doesn't mean anything if you're using a cutting mat or on your materials. Juliet starts cutting wherever you leave the blade. So you are in control of this machine. Wherever you leave the blade housing, that is where Siser Juliet is going to start cutting. So I'd recommend watching my how to load materials how to load materials video in my YouTube channel, because wherever you leave that housing, I show you exactly, that is going to be where Siser Juliet cuts. So you're going to want to do test cuts. You're going to want to learn how the machine places the object and where it's going to cut, because if you load that material and you leave that housing in the middle of your cutting mat, that is exactly where Juliet is going to cut, is right where you leave that design. So this is going to be one of the toughest things for people to get used to with the coming from the craft cutter side of things. The second thing that's going to be more difficult is the setting the blade depth. And I would recommend watching my video that's linked in the description below on how to set that blade depth, because it is a more professional style blade and you control that. If you haven't gathered, you are going to be the main deciding factor in whether you are successful with Siser Juliet or not. It is a machine, it cuts well, it relies on you to have the proper settings, the proper blade depth, and to do your test cuts. So it's more like a professional style machine, which kind of leads to more experience. So if you are more experienced and know how to do that or learn how to do that, anybody can do it, but you have to be willing to learn how to do it correctly. So that's just a little tidbit. Check out the links in the description below. So this is our design space, or our artboard, as it's called over here. So you have some properties here that are your color pickers. So if I click on this, I could change the color of it very easily. You can change your width and height. You have your proportional resize here. I could change it to 10, hit enter, and it's going to change that. It's right here on the screen. Now, again, this is just a quick tour. The biggest thing that can help you is to just start clicking buttons and see what they do. You're really not going to hurt it, and you're just going to have to get used to where everything is. So I'm going to go through some of the tools that it has. And like I said in the very beginning, it is going to grow. we have provided feedback. Like right click is an option that I use often, so I asked for a right click, and they're working through those menus. So it is going to come. It may even be in the software as you're viewing this video. It just depends on the timing. So in the top left corner, you have your menus, and each one of those contains a little bit different thing. If you were to open an outside file, you want to choose import file. This is another difference as of right now, as of October 16th. I did provide feedback that I had a question on it. I'm used to file open. File open currently will open a Leonardo Design Studio file. File import or import file is what you want to use if you're going to open an SVG file. If you're going to open any other file type, you want to choose import file. And I'll quickly go through that here in just a second too. But let's get through the menus. So you have your view, your zoom, your edit. Here's where you can do undo, copy and paste, cut, copy, weld, combine paths, break paths, contour cuts, which is for print and cut. All of these down here are print and cut options. Use page markers. That's your registration marks for your print and cut. You have your arrange, so you can align your objects. You can ungroup, bring it to front, center to page, move. So if I hit center to page here, it moves it to the center of that page. Again, it doesn't matter where it is on the screen. It's going to matter where you leave that blade on where it's going to cut. Move to origin. That means that it's going to move it down here. This is what they call the point of origin. Siser Juliet and eventually Romeo, when Romeo's released, they use the point of origin is your top left, or in your material. When you feed your materials through, it cuts towards the front. So if we're looking at our cutting mat, it's going to use the point of origin as the bottom left of our cutting mat as it's loaded in the machine. It's like a professional cutting machine. It's not, this is one of the big differences between this and a craft cutter. So we're coming into this market. Juliet is coming in above a craft cutter and below your more professional cutters that are more expensive. So if you're trying to if you're advanced and you want a new challenge, or if you are a business owner and you need to move up to the next level, that is where Siser Juliet and Romeo are trying to come into the market. They're not trying to compete with anybody. Some people, they don't need Siser Juliet. Other people, the biggest factor is it's going to be you need to learn how to use her correctly. It is going to be a lot of learning. So you also have a help menu up here as well. Then we come down here and here's your toolbar. So we have our select arrow. We have point editing. Let's see if I can get this. It doesn't come up on this design. It's in the way the design is created. I'll show you here in just a second. You have your drawing tools. So if you were to draw a line, you click a point, click another point, and then you're going to right click and you can choose what you want to do. So I want to choose to be done. And then I have had a line here. It shows it's red, it's not showing up well. And it could be because my line width is 0. Let's see if I can change that. So it's really just going to be a matter of playing around with the software. There we go. Well, it showed up for a second. There's my line. So you have a couple drawing tools. Here is a rectangle. So you can see here, it gives you like an automatic, whatever you last drew, that's going to be the size. You see a little gray bounding box where I can click and it will automatically use that same shape, or I can draw a rectangle the size I need. Now here, let's see if we can bring up these edit points now. If I click back on the select button and I double click, I can bring in these edit points. And so I do have options to be able to adjust those. If I click on it to select it, I can right click and I have some options for my edit points. If I click on the edge of it, let me zoom in here just a little bit. Edit points, double click, so I have my edit points here. If I wanted to, first I'm going to change the color of this so it's a little easier to see. If I wanted to, I could use my cursor, click there, right click and choose insert node. And so I can create nodes, if I right click, and this is how I created my wood sign that I had posted in my group, and then I can adjust those edit points. So you can work and create on your own designs. So I'm going to zoom back out here to 100%. You have these shapes, so not only do you have your square, but you also have circle, heart, and star currently. You have a text tool. When you pop that up, it pops it up. It's going to take a second here for your text to generate, depending on how many font styles you have on your computer. And then what I can do here is I can enter my text. I'll just type in Ellie Mae, and I can preview that text here. I don't like that font. I can preview that text here, and I'm just pushing buttons because I've only used it a few times. I can make it bold. You can auto weld, so it's automatically welded before you go out there. And then when you're ready to do that, you can click apply, and it put my text on my screen. So you can see that there. I can make it bigger. Not sure I like that font. E's are very difficult in scripty fonts. Some of them are just downright ugly. But you can see I probably wouldn't have auto welded this font because it doesn't flow properly as a script font. That is completely dependent on your font style. All fonts are different. So then what I can come over here to do is the next one over. We had our text tool. I have build contours. So I'm just going to delete this here. Build contours. If I click on that, it's going to bring up some options here on what I want to do. So I want to do a print and cut logo. It's going to trace around the outside edge of that logo on where it's going to cut. Now I'm not going to go into a lot of details into this, just because there's so many options and you can spend so much time. And it's supposed to be a quick tour. Well, tours aren't always quick. If you want it to go faster, you can always check the speed box in the bottom right corner of the YouTube video and see if it'll speed up for you. But I don't want to talk too fast. If I click apply, it's going to then choose my page size. It's going to put that cut line around my design. And if I come over here, I'll just show you for my page setup. If currently I have 8.5 by 11 or A4 size selected, then I have my registration marks. So it adds those registration marks. And again, this is just something you're going to have to play with. There's not a whole lot of time that I'm going to invest in it right now, as this is just a tour. But you have your registration marks. There is a video of a print and cut example on my Creating with Siser Juliet and Romeo Facebook group, so I'll put that link in the description below as well. Again, it depending on when you're seeing this video, it may be down a ways. Right here, let's see, we have our contour cuts. We have your weld. So if I had two objects, let me turn my registration marks off. Oh, that just changes them. Just going to delete this. If I had two objects, so if I draw another object here, I'll just do that, and I can choose to weld those two objects together. So I have an option to weld, I have an option to make compound, and I have an option to release compound. So if I choose weld, now it's welded as one object and it's going to cut around the outer edge. I have a scale option here, so I have a rotate button. I have a mirror and another mirror option. And then we have, get the little window to come up, duplicate. So you have a lot of options there. You also have a lot of options up here. And as we go along, there will be a right-click option as well. In my beta version, it's not there yet. So then you also have arrange. So you can tell the software how you want it to arrange on your artboard. Do you want a layer in front, a layer behind? Do you want to move those? And you have to have the proper objects selected in order to do that. Let me see if I can get over here for a second to do a quick example. Change the color and you might be able to see it. So I have bring to front, that's already in the front. So I'm going to send it to back. You can see that it goes behind. If I choose bring to front, it brings it back to front. Then you have your align objects. You have align, oh, I need two objects selected first. Align left, you have align middle, align right, which they're the same size, so you're not going to see any. Okay, now you'll see some differences. Middles, right, top edges, center, bottom. Works like much other software programs. And this one is spaced apart. You have a select tool over here. You have your hand tool that you can move things, move your screen around. You have zoom, so I can zoom. And if I click 100%, it's going to go back out to 100% of whatever I have on my design space. So if I have a design clear out here, it's going to go 100% to everything that's on my artboard. If I make a copy, I held down my Alt key and I made a copy. If I 100%, it's going to go out to everything that's on my artboard. So that is a real quick glimpse at the basic tools in the Leonardo Design Studio as of October 16th, 2022. When you're ready to send a design, I'll click on here for just a second. You can choose, this is the registration marks, which I covered just briefly. And then you can choose a cutting mat, no mat, so you are cutting with a lined material like HTV or adhesive vinyl, something you're not cutting completely through. When you choose cutting mat, you have a couple options here. So we have generic mat as a 4.5 by 6, which is like a Cricut Joy mat. The one thing that I did have, I asked several people at Siser about, and I got the same answer across the board. Consumable products, they are not strict about. So if you use another cutting mat, that's going to be fine. It may affect how your cut settings are, but that's going to be on you. You're going to have to adjust for that. But I've been using a silhouette cutting mat in my machine because I received a high tack mat and I didn't want to use that. So it's going to be completely up to you. So they do have some additional sizes in here so that you can use different size cutting mats. It is very much customizable to you and your needs. Then you can choose your paper size here. So it's just going to take some time to get used to. If I were to send this design, I can go over here to send design. Now what you're going to notice, let me go back here on my back tab. And I'm going to click on send. So I have two objects on my screen. And this is going to be a difference if you are coming from a silhouette versus a Cricut in either one of those machines. Cricut users are used to having these two different layers. Because my objects are two different colors, I have two different layers that I can choose to cut. So it does not show those on the same cut screen at one time. If I wanted them both to show, I can go back and change the colors so they're both the same color, and then they would show up. But you can choose here which one you want to cut. Now, what you'll notice here is that it always puts it down here in this left orientation on the cutting mat. That is the big difference here. It is going to cut wherever you leave your blade housing. So if you put your blade housing in the homing position, that is your bottom left of your materials. Where your material is in relation to your blade housing on the machine. So you have a few other options here. You have mirror, it'll mirror that for you for HTV. You have auto weld or auto weed box, so I can add a weeding box around that automatically. If you get too close to the edge, it's not going to show up properly, so make sure that your design is away from the edge. It does have a little buffer boundary in there. And then you have some other options here. One of the options that actually saved me this week was an area test. So if I clicked this and had my machine set up, it would actually take the housing and it would go around the area that my design is located in, so without cutting. So it's going to just give me a test of the area that I am looking to cut in. And my mat would have shot out of my machine if I had sent it where it was. So this was a great option to be able to test it before actually cutting my materials. And then you have the option to send to cutter. You have a few more options over here. This is how you connect a new machine. I would just say play around with it. If you have a Siser Juliet, watch the videos to get set up. Follow all the instructions that Siser provides. There's a QR code on the box. You know, you just need to play with the machine and learn it. So that is a quick tour. I'm going to go back here to the design tab. I have one more thing to show you here. So I mentioned that it puts those different artboards on different layers depending on the colors. So if I chose to make both of these the same color, and then I go to send my design, since they're both the same color, it's going to show both of them on the screen. This is going to be something that just you need to get used to, especially if you're coming from Silhouette like I am. So I used Cricut many, many years ago, lots of years ago, before they had this option. And I played with it a little bit. It was hard to get used to, but it just really depends on your background and your history. So again, it's just a quick tour of the Leonardo Design Studio because it was released today. If you're watching the video later, there may be additional features and different options available, but this will give you a quick glimpse into the Siser Juliet software, which is called Leonardo Design Space, without you actually having to own a cutting machine. Again, it is not coming into the market to replace any design program. It is coming into the market simply at the moment to be able to use your Siser Juliet cutting machine. It cuts. Siser Juliet cuts. I have several videos on the YouTube as well as my Facebook group at Creating with Siser, Juliet, and Romeo. All the links are in the description below. Follow us. We're all learning at the same time. Leonardo is new, Siser Juliet is new, and it's going to be awesome. Every person has their favorites. I just like to learn new things. So I'm not at the moment going to compare it because there's so many variables that factor into your cut quality versus the user. The user, you, are going to be the biggest factor in what machine works well for you. Siser Juliet, you are going to have to learn, and you are going to be in charge of your blade depth and your cut settings and where you leave that blade housing. Depending on your experience, that's going to be how much of a learning curve it is for you. So the biggest factor here is you. I hope you have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed that glimpse into Leonardo Design Studio. Feel free to leave the comments and questions below. I will try to answer them as best I can or find out those answers for you. Have a great day.